My mom is engaged to a guy named George, and they want their wedding to symbolize the creation of a new family unit with me, teen female, and Mom and George and his 3 kids, ages pre-tween, young grammar schooler, and kindergartner. George's ex-wife dipped and has not seen her kids since the youngest was born. My dad died 4 years ago. Mom and George have been together for 3 years, and we've lived together for 7 months now. Mom, George, and George's kids are happier, and my mom is happier than she ever was, something she said. I don't think she and my dad were happily married when he died. Anyway, like I said, they want to celebrate the family unit that they're creating and talk about how great it is, how we're all so happy with it, and feel like we've become such a solid unit. My mom and George wrote this speech for me to give at the wedding in a few months, and they wanted me to read it. They said they took care of writing it because they could put words together better. I read the whole thing and couldn't imagine myself reading it. Some of the quotes from the speech are, "I'm so happy our family is finally whole and legally recognized. I wouldn't change a thing about my life because it's brought us all here. Our family is the best thing to happen to me. I cannot imagine life being any better than it is right now, standing here among the people I love most in the world. This is the start of the best chapter of our lives. I'm so excited to welcome my new dad and new siblings into the last name, family." Those are just the ones I kept note of. But generally, the tone of the speech is not how I feel. I would change all of this in a heartbeat for my dad back. This will never be my best chapter when he's not here, and I don't love George or his kids. I don't have strong feelings either way, but I'm also sad. The wedding and enthusiasm remind me that I no longer have my dad to confide in. My mom is happy, and I'm glad about that. I would give a speech about that, but I know the second I say that, my mom would want us in family therapy, and I don't want to go with them. I don't like to hear that embracing and being happy about a new dad and siblings after 15 years of being an only child is okay. Instead, I told Mom I wasn't comfortable giving the speech that they wrote and that I wouldn't do it. She told me the speech was perfect and was a beautiful tribute to what was happening. She also told me how much it would mean to George's kids. I told her I still didn't feel comfortable and to forget about me saying anything. My mom was upset and mad. George was asking why I'd refused to do something that would make everyone so happy. They told me I was acting like an elementary school kid instead of a teenager who was a young adult. They also had George's oldest tell me how excited she and her brothers are to hear my speech, and she told me she's excited to be my sister. Am I the idiot? Also, the speech is 3 pages long. Not the idiot. I'd say, here are some words that my mom and George insisted I read, and this is not how I feel. Then give the speech in the most monotone voice possible. Let them think they won and make them regret it. Ah, yes, malicious compliance. Do it. They're trying to present a vision of what they want the world to see, not reality. The fact that they didn't write the speech with you or trust you to write it yourself shows you that they know how you feel. Stick to your guns no matter what they throw at you. No, OP's just a mid-teen and has to live with these people. Don't encourage her to be a petulant teen. It will only hurt her. Malicious compliance will not serve the OP in the long run. All it'll do is make her come across as a defensive, petulant child, which is the opposite of what she needs, and drive a wedge between the OP and her last surviving parent. I'm not saying comply either. She can stand her ground without being a jerk, which involves calmly but firmly communicating, not yelling or stomping or raging. OP, while I get the appeal of some petty revenge type advice, there is better advice. Is there another adult in your life, an aunt or uncle or grandparent, that can support you here? And talk some sense into dear old Mom and George. I think another obvious solution is that whoever wrote the speech should read it. Simple as that. Sister-in-law married my brother 10 years ago. They each had a daughter, both 18 now, from different relationships. My niece was excited by the idea of a sibling and a bigger family. She used to ask her dad to give her a sibling when she was still in preschool, and while she stopped asking, the wish remained. The fact that she thought her stepniece was the coolest and best person ever made the excitement more palpable. But it was clear from early on that my stepniece did not view my niece in the same light. The girls were very different, and very early on, my niece became very demanding of my stepniece's time. Sister-in-law and my brother were very eager to see them spend time together, so they encouraged my niece's demandingness and would scold my stepniece for wanting to make friends over her sister. I became concerned about how demanding my niece was being. She wouldn't even ask stepniece if she wanted to do something. She would tell her, and neither my brother nor sister-in-law batted an eyelid. My stepniece would say no, and my niece would tell her that that was not an option. So I spoke about my concerns to my brother, and he told me he knew it was going to push his stepdaughter away in the future, but he also knew how much my niece wanted a sister and how much his wife wanted her daughter to accept her as a sister, so he wasn't going to get involved. A confrontation happened between sister-in-law and stepniece a couple of years ago that the rest of us were made aware of. Sister-in-law told stepniece that she would need to get used to having her sister in her life because when she grows up, she'll have to make time for her, which is good practice for that. Stepniece told sister-in-law that she could just not see her at all, and sister-in-law said that that wasn't a possibility and she would always be a part of the family. My stepniece turned 18 in July, and she moved out of my brother's and sister-in-law's house and has not been to visit or keep in touch with them since. My niece has tried to talk to her over DM or call, but she's ignored her and maybe even blocked her in places. The only people this seemed to surprise were my sister-in-law and my niece. My niece cried for days and said she didn't understand, while sister-in-law grumbled for months. But during Christmas, it was at an all-time bad, and she showed up to the family celebration we had on the 30th and was blasting her daughter to everyone and saying how surprising her actions were. A lot of the family moved away from her, but when she sat down next to me to do her vent, I told her, only she and my niece were surprised, and the rest of us saw her daughter's actions coming a mile away. I brought up that their stepniece had even told her what she'd done 2 years ago, and she didn't believe her. Sister-in-law called me insensitive and told me nobody could have known that a teenage girl was serious when she was having her little temper tantrum. She said most kids would never want to be away from their siblings or their families like that, and it's cruel for me to lie and claim otherwise. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Step-parents like her destroy their families by trying to force them to become more perfectly bonded than is reasonable. Every day here, there's a story of clueless parents trying to force stepkids to love their new relatives. Every day it ends in disaster. Every day parents try to force their new family to blend into the fantasy family they imagine. You said the simple truth that she needed to hear, and somehow that makes you the bad guy. These people, you can't reach them, and you can't reason with them. Your sister-in-law was so focused on getting her happily ever after that she turned into the evil stepmother for her own daughter. And worse, she was flat out told the consequences of her actions, and now she's all surprised that it's come true. Not to mention that there's no way your brother kept his mouth shut all those years unless she'd already shut him down. She doesn't get to rewrite history or paint her daughter as the bad guy because she failed. The crap talking isn't going to help because some of that family's still in touch with your stepniece and is going to let her know what's going on. I, 28 female, love to bake, and I'll often make cakes and stuff for friends, and since I met my in-laws in 2018, for them as well. My sister-in-law asked me to bake her daughter's birthday cake for her birthday this weekend. This was back in October, and we discussed what she wanted in detail. It's not my first time making her cakes, but it is my first time as her sister-in-law officially, and where I felt like I was truly part of a family. 3 days ago, I was out grocery shopping, and I ran into a family friend of my in-laws. This person is not someone I like very much. She's a horrible gossip and seems to have some malice while sharing gossip about others. I try to be polite to everyone, and normally I don't talk to her, but she stopped me and went out of her way to ask me when my husband and I were having kids. Then she mentioned me being a foster kid and an affair baby, and she did it in a way that was meant to come across as actual concern, but was her being intrusive and cruel. She mentioned that my in-laws and sister-in-law were concerned about our kids not having anyone. I told my husband when he got home from work, and I was a mess. It might seem dumb, but I felt like his family betrayed the trust I put in them, and they did the one thing they were asked not to do, which was tell people about my history. It's not something I want to broadcast to everyone who knows me. My husband confronted his parents and his sister, and they said they only mentioned it to a few close circle people, and they defended it when my husband said that wasn't okay. Sister-in-law said it's not like people wouldn't find out eventually, and he asked her how they would find out if we never told them. My history is that both my parents were married to others and had children with their other spouses when they had an affair. I was the result. Both sets of first children were technically adults or close to it when I was born. The day before my 5th birthday, we were in the car together and it crashed. Nobody in either of my parents' families wanted me, and I was brought up in foster care for the rest of my life. I never found a family. After hearing sister-in-law say what she did and realizing how unapologetic they were and hearing how little they cared about what they did to me, I asked if I could speak to sister-in-law for a second and told her not to expect a cake from me after going against what I wanted and having such little care for the harm it caused. She went crazy and said it was only 3 days until the birthday party, and my husband backed me up and said, so what? She and their parents were blowing up his phone so badly that he had to block them, and I worry that I'm a bit of an idiot for saying no with such short notice. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. They treated you like family to your face and were willing to have you bake cakes for them, but they couldn't help but share your personal backstory with others after being told explicitly not to. It is a massive violation of trust, and I'm very happy to hear that your husband is backing you up and setting a boundary with his family. I'm also very sorry to hear that you're going through this. It must be heartbreaking. You know the old saying, 2 can keep a secret if 1 is dead. If you tell even one other person, you probably tell all 10 of them. In-laws can easily order a grocery cake with her name and icing with as little as 2 days' notice. I've done it before. If they aren't organized enough for that, they can get a generic grocery cake with 1 day's notice. The whole bunch of in-laws sounds terrible. They honestly expect you to respond to their cruelty with kindness? That's messed up. Go low or no contact with those trolls. Agreed. Family is what you make of it. Your husband is a rock star, and he's just proven how much he cares about you. The bad place would freeze over, and the sky would turn purple before I trusted my in-laws again. Sister-in-law betrayed you in the worst possible way. I'm so sorry. Honestly, my words are insufficient. I wish I could hug you. OP, kudos for your husband to take your side and defend your honor. He should be the one to get that cake instead. My parents recently put down the rule, no dinner until 1.5 hours of violin practice is completed, since they realized I, a female teen, rarely ever practiced violin, and if I did, it would be only for 30 minutes. I absolutely hate playing the violin. The last time I asked them if I could stop playing the violin, they said they'd ground me for a year, but they kept extending it past 3 years. People have recommended I try playing songs I like, and I tried, but then I ended up hating the songs. I'm not generally lazy. I'm quite good academically and physically. Around a week ago, I refused to practice violin and skip dinners. My parents never thought I'd choose that option and are extremely mad. They've taken away more things recently, such as books, art supplies, one of my hobbies, soft toys, I'm still very attached to them, and breakfast, not that I ever ate it, clothing besides one basic outfit, and my school uniform, etc. I'm still refusing to play the violin. I've spoken to my friends about this, and they just told me to give in to their demands. Am I the idiot for refusing to play the violin? Edit. Yes, I'm Asian. Not the idiot. Taking away meals as a form of punishment for wanting to quit an extracurricular activity you're no longer interested in is dangerous parenting. OP, call CPS and tell them your parents are withholding meals. Also, talk to an adult at school and explain the situation to them. I think OP is afraid of the repercussions of telling someone. If CPS comes to investigate, parents put on their best behavior, and OP is not immediately taken out of the home, there will be a wrath rain down once the CPS is gone. Coming from a similarly abusive Asian home, that's why I was afraid and clenched my teeth until I was 22 to move out and then go no contact. Oh honey, they've totally ruined the violin for you. They've drove you to hate it by forcing it on you. You cannot force an instrument or sport on your children. The role of the parent is to provide opportunities for music, sports, dance, etc., and then encourage their child if they decide to take it up. Forcing a child to participate is the quickest way to kill any interest for life. It's horrible what they're doing and punishing you like that. Music has to be a choice, a personal one, something you love and look forward to. It's not torture. I'm so sorry. They're despicable. My girlfriend, 29, and I, male 29, were going to host Thanksgiving dinner last year. We had everything planned, and we invited our closest family members, her parents, my siblings, and my sister's family. Unfortunately, we had some health issues concerning my girlfriend's pregnancy. Even though she was 31 weeks pregnant, just a few days before Thanksgiving, she had to have an emergency C-section. I won't go into too much detail with that since it's irrelevant, but the thing is that we canceled dinner, and my girlfriend and our baby had to be in the hospital for a bit. My girlfriend and I decided to stay home during Christmas and New Year's Eve dinner too, as she was still recovering from the surgery, and we honestly didn't feel like doing much. However, since she's feeling better now, she thought it would be a good idea to have a family dinner to make up for all of our missed holidays this year. Long story short, we planned a dinner for yesterday. My girlfriend and I are vegan. Usually she doesn't mind being around cooked meat too much, but we prefer not to have it in our home. My sister, 35, is married and has 2 kids, both boys under 10. My girlfriend and I cooked for everyone, and when our families came, my sister's husband asked where the real food was after we told him what we cooked, all vegan dishes. My girlfriend is still a little oversensitive, so I took my family aside and kindly asked them not to make harsh comments like that. They said they'd be careful, and my sister's husband apologized. However, as I finished cooking some of our food, someone rang the bell. My sister said, "Oh, it must be a delivery for the kids." And yeah, it was. She had ordered fried chicken for her kids, since they surely wouldn't like what my girlfriend and I cooked. That caused a big argument between me and my sister, since she didn't tell me she was ordering chicken, which I wouldn't have allowed. The discussion escalated, and I ended up asking my sister and her family to leave after that. My parents also got upset with me and left. We ended up having dinner just with my in-laws and my brother. I feel like I did something wrong because now my parents or sister don't want to talk to me unless I apologize for being extreme. But I was only trying to keep my girlfriend comfortable and happy in her house. She had ordered fried chicken for her kids, since they surely won't like what my girlfriend and I cooked. They hadn't even tried. This is so rude. And what is wrong with having your kids eat vegetables? If they were so sure their kids wouldn't like the food, they should have hired a babysitter, informed their host of their absence, and left them at home. You are not the idiot. Agreed. How dare you just offer them vegan burgers and fries? Well, fries are not meat. It sounds like the kid's mom is the biggest problem, and she seems unwilling to have them try new food. You are the idiot. Most of this could have been avoided by prefacing that you'd only serve vegan dishes beforehand. It's generally polite to inform your guest of the kind of food you're serving beforehand, regardless of whether it's vegan or not. Sure, your guest ordering takeout to your door is also kind of an idiot move, but the average under 10 basically runs on chicken. Everyone's reaction was a bit much. Kicking them out instead of having an adult conversation makes you a bigger idiot.